All right, guys. Example 8, we're almost through this. So we're doing cube roots of -1. Now, if you take a look, if we were to plot -1, that would be on the real axis. So that means that -1 plus 0i, right over there, -1 plus 0i would be on the real axis to the left, to 180 degrees or pi direction, with no imaginary component. So we can understand that that's cosine pi plus I sine pi, and the radius is 1. Now, if the radius is 1, then, well, what's a cube root of 1, square root of 1, fourth root of 1, 100th root of 1? It's 1. So these would be called the roots of unity. Fancy word, but the math is exactly the same. So let's get to it. Now, over here, they just say -1. So we have to assume that z can be written as -1 plus 0i. And with that in mind, we then know that if I want it in polar form, the radius is 1, and then it's in the direction of pi. And look how well that works out. Sine of pi 0. And hence there is no imaginary component here. So how do you get the roots of unity? Well, we know that n is 3 because we know that there are 3 solutions, 3 distinct solutions, right? We know then there are 3 answers. We know that because of 3 answers, that they must be separated by 360 divided by 3, so it must be separated by 120 degrees. And the starting angle, or first angle, well, we know that that's pi, or actually divided by 3, or 180 divided by 3. And so that's going to be, or 60 degrees, right? I'm going to work with degrees here because, you know me, it's just easier. So for z1, my radius is 1, and then it'd be cosine of 60 degrees plus I sine of 60 degrees. You could write that if you want to in radians. But now also, one thing I didn't do for example 7 that I can do here that I forgot to do, but you can also go back and use your calculator for example 7. But for this one, because it's cosine of 60, then I can say that z1 is equal to 0.5, right, plus I root 3 over 2. Actually, I should write 1/2 just so it looks nicer like that, right? That's your first root. z2, well, remember, from the first root to the next root, they're separated by 120 degrees. So that means that the next one is going to be, let's see, cosine of, 60 degrees plus 120, yep, that's 180, plus I sine of 180. And so z2 cosine is -1 plus I sine of 180. So then that's just I times 0. So that's equal to -1. And then finally, z3 is equal to cosine, again, 180 plus 120 is 300 plus I sine 300. And in this case, if we were to calculate this out, z3, cosine 300 is a reference angle of 60. Cosine is positive in quadrant 4. So cosine of 60 again is positive half. Now, I know sine of 300, that's going to be negative, and then that's going to be I root 3 over 2. And